to the class. You are a
Yes,
fresher.
I have experience in Selenium Java
Okay,
and
okay,
UFT,
okay,
and parallelly I'm
fine.
working with I'm creating small apps by using Python.
Great, great. Okay, okay, fine. So you are working for some company now?
Yeah, yes,
Okay, okay,
currently
fine.
working.
Okay, okay. So you are only the fresher today. I mean, new to the class.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. Anyone else is new for today or no one? Okay, fine. Fine. Actually, yeah, we were discussing about Python. We were in middle of the thing. So our syllabus, you can find the syllabus. So we will be initially discussing about Python. Then we will be discussing all the core concepts of Selenium. Then we will discuss the complete frameworks of Selenium with API testing, both with manual and automation. We'll see agile, we'll see manual testing and everything. It's just like a package where you will find the whole things from basic from the Python to end to end to the API testing. We will be discussing on it. So you can find the syllabus in the in the website. Okay, in the Durgasoft website. So here we are discussing Python as an initial. So first 1 week we will be discussing Python. So after that we'll start with Selenium. That's what our target would be. Okay.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yes, yes. So just for revise it, people who already know it. Yeah, guys. So we were actually discussing. See, we were discussing about the functions yesterday. So we have seen what are the keyword arguments, what are the default parameters, what is global and local variables, how they are being defined, and we were also seeing some of the basic, control statements. We have seen break, continue, and pass differences. So we would probably see the file handling today. File handling is something that uh, you know is one of the important topic that we have to focus on in our Selenium with Python. So file handling. So as I said you that we are discussing Python overall scope, where we will be discussing all the topics, but in a very overview scope, not in a very detailed manner. So let's see that what is actually file handling, how file handling will be happened in Python. So it's a very simple thing, guys. When you see any file, file is something that consists of some information. What is a file? File is something that is collection of information. It has some information. So when you see the different file operations, see what if I give you a file, a normal physical file, what you can do? You can just open a file, you can close it, you can read something, and you can write. You cannot do any operation other than this. So this is all file operation. So we can still do the same file operation with the file that we say in Python. So in Python, anything that is being considered as txt file or text file is called as a text file, and any other file except that text file is called as a binary file. So we basically focus on the text file in Python. So .txt extension. So here when we see .txt extension, in the text file considerations, we have multiple file operations. We have open, we can open a file, we can read a file, we can write a file, write into some file, and we can close it. So what file? That is a text file. We can open it, we can close it, we can read it, and we can write on it. So but considering the modes, there are certain modes of file. So if I write something, I need to mention my system, my computer, that I am going to write something, because I cannot directly open and write it. So I need to mention some mode. I have to mention a mode to my system, that along with opening mode, I'm trying to read this file, I'm going to read it. I need to priorly, or I need to predefine to my system saying that I'm going to read this file, I'm going to open this file in a read mode, in a write mode, in a appendable mode. Whatever the mode I have to mention, I need to mention to my system that I am going to open a file. So there should be a mode. Mode means which mode you are opening, which mode you are opening, which type you are opening. You are opening in a read mode or a write mode or a append mode. So you have to mention your system. According to that, your system will act. Okay, you cannot open a file in a read mode and try writing something on your file. That will be a failure. That will get you a IO exception. You cannot read a file, you cannot open a file in a write mode and you cannot read a file. So you need to say your file, boss, I'm going to open you in a read mode. So then your file will be readily available to you to read it. So you can use a method called read. And the similar way, when you say, you are saying that file that I'm opening in a write mode, so your file will be readily available to make it accessible for write mode. So I'll tell you what does exactly it means, how it works and all stuff. Okay. So anyone paid fees from yesterday to today? Because I'll add them into the group. Anyone else newly paid the fees? Vaishali?
Sir, today I will pay. Today 11:30, 1 p.m.
Yeah. Anyone paid fees and still not in the group?
I paid one.
Praveen, I think you are there. You are there in the group.
Okay.
Are you there in the group?
I don't know actually. I didn't say.
Okay, we have a WhatsApp group. I think I'll be adding you in that group.
Okay.
Yeah, if you are there and you are not in the group, then that will be a problem. So if you're paid
No,
and
I'm not. No, I didn't
okay,
get it.
I'll be adding you. I'll be adding you. No issues. Okay, fine, guys. So I'm just opening a new file. I'm just saying f equal to open. So the meaning here is R. So this is actually the syntax that you do. F equal to open file1.txt.r. So that means I need to mention that I'm going to open a file which is of file1. So I don't have anything called file1 here. You just need to ask them. I think I'm not sure. You just need to ask what is the fee for the team. I'll give you a contact. You can talk with the Durga soft team. They'll tell you. See what I need to do. I need to create a file. I need to create. See what I'm trying here. I'm saying a file object. That means some variable which is storing my file content. So that is equal to open of. I'm saying open my file. Which file I want to open? I want to open a file called file1.txt. In what mode? In a read mode. Okay. So what is file1.txt? File1.txt is one file. I don't have anything called file1.txt. So what I need to do, I have to create a new file called file1.txt because I want to read it. So I will just say something like this. Hello everyone. I'm just creating a file which is I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it as not Python file. I'm going to save it as a text file. What is the text file? I'm going to save it as file1. So now it becomes file1.txt file. I can just say txt if you want an extension. Else it will be defaultly a text file. So now I created a file that is called file1.txt, which is there in the same folder. So now you can see that I'm opening a file which is existing already. Whenever you are reading any file, you need to make sure that the file is already existing. So you are opening a file in a read mode. You are saying to your computer that you are going to read it in a read mode so that it will be available for reading purpose only. If you say for write mode, it will be available for only writing purpose. If you say append mode, it will be available for writing purpose only. So there are different modes you have to priorly mention before you do an action. So I'm just saying that I'm opening a file file1.txt in a read mode. Then I need to say some object equal to, otherwise you can just say like that dot read. So this is a method which is existing inbuilt method. What it does, it reads the whole content of file. Whatever file1.txt is there, it reads it and it stores in f1. So if I say print f1 if I do, so I'm just saving it as file handling program. So you can see, right? You can get it, right? You are just getting something that is already existing. You are getting an output. You're getting the content which is there in file one. Whatever the content that is there in file one, it is going to give you that content. So what is basically happening here? I'm going to say to my system that I'm opening a file which is already existing, okay, which is a file1.txt. I'm opening it in a read mode. I'm saying, then okay, yeah, you're opening the file. Then after you open the file, you are reading the file, and then you are printing it. You can close as well. You can also close using f.close. There is a method called f.close. So you can still do the same thing. Now the file will be closed. So this is the process. So what you did, you just opened a file, you read the content of the file, you stored in some variable, and then you you printed that content, and then you close the content. So this is the way you basically does. So whatever the file, you cannot read and write the file at the same time. Whenever a file is there, you cannot read and write the file at the same time. So how do you write a content into a file? So see that I don't have anything called file2.txt. So if you see that I have no file2.txt text file. If you see here, I don't have anything called, I have file1. I don't have file2.txt. But whenever you are writing any file, you are reading, you are opening any file in the write mode. If you say W, that means write mode. R means read mode. Whenever you are saying open some text file in the write mode, that means if this file is already there, suppose what happens, if this file is there already, what it will do, it will open the file in write mode. If the file is not existing itself, it will create a new file. Okay, so the difference between write mode and read mode is read mode. For the read mode, the file has to be exist. We cannot read a file which is not existing. Okay, but for write mode, it will create a new file. If the file is existing, it's well and good. If the file is not existing, file2.txt or any file what you are mentioning here, you have to mention a file name like this .txt. If that file is not existing, it will create a new file, whatever the file name you have provided here. If it is already existing, it will open that file. Okay, you just need to remember it. So how do you write that content? You just say write. You just say write, and then whatever the thing you want to write. You want to write this is second file. This is file2.txt. Just a print content I am writing over here. Then I am just printing. I cannot print it. See, I cannot print it because I am writing it. I cannot print it. I cannot print F1. So I will not even assign to F1. I don't require it. So I'm opening the file in a write mode. I'm writing some content into that file. Okay, I need to just say f.write, and whatever the content I want to write in the file, I can mention that content. This can be anything. So you need to just say f.write. F.write means this file, whatever the file object you have taken, that .write, whatever you want to write, it will be written into the file2.txt. And then you're closing the file. You're opening the file in a write mode, writing some content, and closing the file. So if I run it, I will not get any output as of such. But if I go to the file here, if I go to the file and open here, I could see in the text files, I could see a new file created with file2.txt, and there is some content. This is file2.txt is been existing. I hope you can able to understand, right, people? So this is the way you write a new code. I hope you're getting now. What I'm trying to say is like, if you have already file2.txt or any file that is already existed, it will open that file. If the file is not existing itself, it will create a new file and it will be opening that file. I hope you're getting right. So this is basically a write operation. Read operation is very simple. Read operation is what we have seen. So you just need to say for f equal to open, and then whatever the file already existing, I can say file1.txt that is already existing. Then comma r. R means read mode. R means read mode. Then you can say f.read, or directly you can say f.read if you want. But I want to print that f.read. I can say print f.read. So it will print the content of f.read. Then what you are doing? Then you are saying f.close. You are closing the file. Then you are opening a file. So see guys, you need to understand two things here. You need to understand two things. You at the same time you cannot read and write the files. I cannot see. I have 10 files or 100 files. I have a single file. I want to read the file and write the file both. I cannot do it simultaneously. Okay, I cannot do it simultaneously. I cannot do it immediately. See, I cannot read and write file at one time. What I need to do, if I want to create a new file, first I will do this way. I'll explain you what does it exactly happens. If I run it, what I'll not get anything out. I'll get the output called hello everyone. So it goes and read that hello everyone. It closes and it creates a new file f2, and it will be printing it. I'll tell you what is actually happening here. It is going and opening file1.txt, and it is reading the content, and it is printing that content and closing the file. Again, I'm opening a new file, file2.txt, and writing some content into it and closing it. So if I go and check it, I will be able to do. So if you want to create a new file, how do you do it? See, you need to understand that without closing the file, you cannot open other file. Understood, right? You cannot say file open, read the file, write the file, and close the file. That doesn't work out. The only thing you need to remember here is you can open a file, you can read or write whatever you want to do, and then you have to close it. Then only you can open a file for other mode. Understood, right? Without this, if I say without this, if I remove this and if I try running this, I'll get an error. But you see, I did not get an error. The reason because, okay, I'll do one thing. I did not get an error. The reason because, okay, see, it is reading it, but the next operation is not performed. That's what actually happening. So what you need to do, you need to actually close the file. You cannot do it. You cannot. See, if I do one thing, if I do the same file, if I do the same file opening, I'll get an error. I'll get an error. Maybe they have removed it from the next version or what. So you have to close it. Until you don't close it, you will not get it actually. Uh-huh. One minute, I'm just trying to see why. Normally it should be closed. Without closing, you cannot assign it. Yeah, you are not getting any output as of such. Well, I don't print it, right? I did not print it. So the process here is, you need to just remember, see, I didn't get any output as of such. I'm not getting any output, right? I'm supposed to get output as F1. So you're not getting any output here. The reason because you just need to understand two things here. If you want to read and write a file simultaneously, you open a file, you write some content, you close it, and then you open a file in a read mode, then read the content. Because what happens here is, it won't work if you do the simultaneous job. You will not get the output sometimes like this. Understood, right? So this is what you need to remember. You just need to understand that the way, whenever you're trying to read or write a file, either you have to read the content, close the file, and then write the content, or write the content, close the file, and read the content. You cannot do it parallelly. So what I mean to say here is f dot read. There is something called f dot read. F equal to open. So you want to read, you want to write a file. So there is nothing called f3 dot file3 dot txt. There is no file called file3 dot txt, comma, write mode. So I'm going to create a file. I'm going to create a file in this way. I'm going to create a file which is file3.txt in a write mode. I'm going to write some content into it. F dot write. Write some content. Write some content. Then you need to say f dot close. You're closing you're closing the file. Again, you're opening the file. F equal to open. You're opening what? File3.txt. Now the file3.txt is already existing. Okay. Now what happened? My file3.txt is existed. See what I'm doing. I'm going to create a new file. That file is called file3.txt in a write mode. I'm writing some content. I'm closing that file. Again, I'm opening it. For the read mode, the mandatory is that the file should be existing. So what I'm doing, I'm opening a file, I'm writing some content, I'm closing it, I'm opening again in a read mode. I'm reading that data. I'm saying print of f dot read. I'm reading the data, and then I'll say f dot close. This is the right way that you need to follow for any file. You got it right? Write some content. So it is a file. What is happening here? You are creating a new file, file3.txt in a write mode. Okay, then you are writing something, you're closing the file, opening the file in the read mode, reading the data and closing the data. So this is actually called as a file reading and file writing operation in a simple way. Okay, it's a very simple file reading and writing operation. So if you want to read any file or write to any file, this is the way you can do it. But yeah, there are some challenges that you need to understand here. What is actually that? I'll tell you. Suppose I have 20 lines. What is the difference? I would ask you a question, simple question. Suppose, let me see that file3.txt. If I open that file3.txt and think that in the file3.txt, I have multiple lines. Suppose like this. I don't consider what are there, but let me just say you what are the different. Yeah. How do I read it actually? I have multiple lines. Think that I'm just saving it, guys. I'm saving it. So you can tell me what is the output of this? If I write it, if I run this program again, what is the output? I'll get it.
Write some content will be overridden with the existing flow.
Huh?
Write some content.
Yeah, you will get the answer as write some content again.
Only
Why-
write
why-
some content. Yes.
Why only write some content?
Every time it will be overridden.
Yes. So when you're trying to open a file which is already existing in a write mode, this will try to override the content, whatever the content. It doesn't care about whatever the content already existing in the file 3. It will override the content with the write something. So whatever you are writing here, whatever the content you are providing here, this content will be overridden to the file3.txt. So we already have some file3.txt with 5 or 6 lines. But when I run this program again, instead of taking that data, it will override. Okay, it will override. Override means what? It is not trying to. It will remove the whole data from that file and it will write the new data. Okay, it will try the new data, whatever the data you are provided here, that will be there. If I run it, you will see what is happening. I got write some content only. So if I open that file, the whole data is gone now. Whatever that data which provided for file3.txt, that will be gone. You can see, right? The whole data is gone. Again, I got this. Yeah, there is an option now.
So
Then
it is completely overwritten.
Yeah, completely overridden. That's what actually happening. That is what write mode will do. So we have an alternative mode called append mode, okay, which is going to add, which are going to see. Now I want to write. See, I have 5 lines. I'm saving it. I'm just going it and saving it now. Okay. Now I'm closing the file. So now I should open it in append mode. What is that mode called? Append mode. Append mode is similar to the write mode, but write mode will overwrite the data completely. Append mode will add the data to the existing data. I hope you are getting right. So what is the difference between append and write mode? Write mode and append mode are same. So if I run it now, you got the whole output, right? Did you get it, everyone? Instead of getting me only write some content, I'm getting the whole content which is already existing in my file 3, and the extra data which is added to me is write some content. Can you able to understand it? Can you able to see, understand? Did you understand the difference between append mode and then write mode? Everyone? See, the new data, write some content is appended to the existing data. Are you clear, guys? Are you clear what I'm trying to say? So append mode is one more mode which is there, which will be adding to the existing content. So you just remember the basic file operations. File operations are open, read, write, and then close. These are the 4 major file operations. How do you open it? F equal to open of file name, whatever the file name .txt, comma, you have to mention the mode. So we have how many modes? We have read mode, we have write mode, we have append mode, we have read and write mode, that I'll tell you later on. So you have to mention it. You have to mention the mode. If you are mentioning the mode, you have to perform the same operation. Suppose you are saying f dot read. You are saying a read mode, and you are saying writing f dot write. You will get an error. See, if I'm saying r, if I say r, and if I say f dot write, I'll get an error. I'll get an error saying that unsupportable, not writable. You cannot say unsupportable operation. This is called IO error. What error it is? Input output error. because you have opened a file in a read mode and you are trying to write some content, so you will get an error. So you have to priorly mention what mode you're opening. Maybe it is a W mode or a A mode. W and A are both same modes. What W is going to do? W is going to completely override the content. A is going to add the content to the existing data. They both are write modes only. Read mode means it's purely reading the data. For a read mode, the mandatory thing is that the file should be existing. You cannot read any data if the file is not existing. For the write mode, if the file is existing, it will read that data. If the file is not existing, it will create a new file, whatever the file you are mentioning there. Okay, if I say file, if file4.txt, there is nothing called file4.txt. Okay, if I say it in A means also write mode, right? I don't need to worry out. So there is nothing called file4.txt. If it's written in a write mode, what it will do, it will create a file4.txt and it starts writing some content into it. So if I run this program, I'll get the output. Sorry, I need to say here file4.txt, not the file3.txt. So I will get the output, write some content. What happened here? It has created a file called file4.txt, and then it has written some data. It closed that file and opened the file in a read mode, read the data, printed the data, and then close the file. Okay, like that you can create n number of files. I don't have file5.txt. I never had it. I'm creating it now. It creates a new file like that, and it returns data, and then it reads the data. So if I say append here, what does it mean? Append, what it is going to do, it is adding the data. So I'll get 2 times. You got it right? I'll get write some content, and write some content is appended to it. But if I say again write mode here, what it does, it replaces and gives me the same content. I hope you are able to understand, everyone, the simple difference. See, we are doing very simple basic file operations. You just need to understand what is the write mode, read mode, what does write mode do, read mode do, append mode do, what is actually the basic concepts of all these things. I hope everyone is clear, right? Any doubts, guys?
Yes, Nikhil. How do we append into the next line?
Yeah, there is something called write lines. Okay, there is something called write lines. And when you are using it in append mode, see, initially I will be doing like this. Initially I have only one line, so I will be writing something like this. If I use append and write lines, the data will be written. Okay, so initially append, but what happens, it will be immediately appending to the next, I mean the same thing. Append mode, what happens here, append mode is something that will be appended to the existing data, so immediately after the next pointer. So either you have to use something called f dot seek 0 and then you use write lines. Okay, you need to use some other way. What you need to do, you have to use some tell and seek methods. There are some methods which will tell you which pointer, which file pointer you are there, and there is something called seek. It seeks to the next line. So if you want to open it in the next line, you can do it. Understood, right? So generally append is an inbuilt method, I mean inbuilt content. It appends to the existing data only. So if I want to write multiple lines, suppose I want to write multiple lines, I need to say comma. I will write one more new line. Okay, like this. So if I just run it, exactly take one of here, and you need to mention it in actually. Maybe 1 minute. I would probably try to see. This works in only this mode actually. Let me check it whether it works this way. No, it is appending to the same line, right? It is appending to the same line.
Not a backward.
Sorry?
Backward slash. Backward slash we are doing.
Okay. Still, what happens? Yeah. I think you can see it now, right? Yeah. You can still do this way actually. You can give a slash n, I mean the new line character, and then you can work on it. Yeah, it's working, right? It's working till here. I think you can still do this way. Is it clear? What I'm trying to say?
Yes, Nikhil, it is working. I tried it from my
Yeah,
end. It is working.
yeah,
Yeah, it is
yeah,
clear,
yeah.
Nikhil.
You have to actually give a new line character, and you have to use right lines instead of right. You have to say right lines. Only then it will be considering a lines. Otherwise, the whole data will be written at one go. You have to use the right lines. So actually, in the previous versions, when you see 2.x versions, you have to supposed to give a comma, and then you have to give a new string itself. I hope you got it right. But in the latest versions, we are the latest versions. There are some changes happened, so you need to give a new line character actually. Otherwise, you just need to give a comma and then you start with a different this thing. Yeah. So this is one way you can write in multiple lines and read lines. There is a concept of read lines. I'll explain you, which is very important that you need to understand. See, guys, I'll just do one thing. I'll just create a new file. I'll create a file called file6. I will write some content over here. I'll write some content. I'll write some 10 lines or 5 lines content. I'll write some 10 lines here, something like this. Slash n. I'll open it in write mode. Instead, I'll write it in a write mode. Then I'll write some other content here. Write some content. This is second line. Some content is there. Okay. Then okay. So now when I just run it, I'll get the three things. No, it is actually writing whole in one go, I guess, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. You can able to see here. So there is something called read lines. What does actually read lines and read does? There is a difference between write lines. Write lines will consider each and every line after the new line character. But when you see read lines, the difference between read and read lines, I have mentioned before read and now read lines. Read will read the data at one go. Okay, one go means suppose you have 10 lines or 20 lines of data in one file. It will read all the 20 lines at one time. But when you say read lines, instead of reading the data at one go, 1 minute, someone please, yeah. Instead of reading the data at one go, it reads line by line. Okay, what is a read lines and read will do? A read will do the whole reading of data at one go, but whereas read lines will read the data at one by one line. Okay, one by one line. So it will store the data in the form of list element. What I mean to say, I'll say f1 equal to read lines. What is actually f1 is going to do? If I say print f1, if I am printing f1, now what it is going to do? It is going to read every line one by one, and then it is storing as a list element. See, I'll show you. You can see, right? The first line is being read as, you can see, right? The first line is read and it is stored as first element in the list. Second line is read and stored as second element in the list. Third line is read and third element is stored as a third element in the list. Like this, read lines will automatically store the data. If you see read, the whole data is read one time. But read lines, what it is going to do? It is reading one line and keeping as one element in the list. It is reading the second line and keeping that as second element in the list. Reading the third line and storing as third element in the list. I hope you are getting right. So this is the way generally the read lines and read does. So now you can use any logics. So now I know how to perform the operations on the list. So I can check for I in L. I want to print each and every line separately. So I can say for I in F1 for I in F1 for I in all the lines. I want to say print I. That means I want to print each and every line separately. Instead of printing F1, I can say print all lines. So I can also close the file after that. Okay. You can see, right? Each and every line now it will be separately printed. First line is printed, second line is printed, third line is printed. I can write also logics. I can also write a logics. Suppose I say if, okay, if something is there, if write something, write some is there, write some content, if some content in F1, if that content is there in I, if some content is there in I means each and every line, right? I can say that if that content is there in I can print that I, else I can print nothing. So if I want to just some basic logic, guys, whatever it is, so it will only give me the first one, second one and third one, nothing I'll get. I hope you're getting right what I mean. I'm checking that if that file is having some content, then print that content, else you print nothing. So I'm checking that if that file is having write sum, in the first line only write sum is there, second line and third line I don't have it. So that's why it is printing first line and first line only, second line and third line it is giving me nothing. So this is some logic whatever I want to keep. So what I mean to say here is you can perform any operation with the files. So you if you have the file content, you can do whatever the operation you want to do with the files. I hope you are getting right what I mean to say. We know how to read the file, whatever we learned till now. We know how to read the file. We know how to write the file. We know how to append the file. Okay. We know how to write lines into the file. We know how to read lines into the file. Read lines. What is the output of read lines? Read lines will give you what? Read lines will give you the content. So what read lines is going to give you? Read lines is going to give you each and every line as an element into the list. If I say a list, in that list each and every element will be considered as one line. Okay, so I know how to perform the activities on the list. I know how to iterate over a list. I know how to use a logic on a list. That is what I used. I have taken for I in F1, for I in all the lines. For I means for each and every line in the list of the elements. That means for all the lines, I'm checking if that content is there in that lines, print that content, print that whole line, otherwise print nothing. So I have 3 lines here. In the 3 lines, write sum is there in only first line. So I printed that line. Then rest 2 lines I have printed nothing. So you can do, this is something that I have did so out of without any thing. So they will ask you some question. Please extract the IP address from a file. How do you do that? You need to mention that you have to use 2 things. One is regular expression. There is something called regular expression which you need to understand. You can use a regular expression and search operation, re.search, and find that regular expression. That is one way. Otherwise you can still, if you want to just go with a higher level understanding, provide that particular regular what do you say, particular IP address, and see that IP address is there in the file. If that IP address is there, the content of IP address is there, then you can able to extract that information or extract that line or extract that IP address. Else you can skip it. So there are a lot of ways. Else you can you don't need to print any data. You can use just else pass means it just goes it. So there are a lot of ways. You can identify the IP address, you can identify the email ID, you can identify any data in the file, you can able to parse the data. There are a lot of ways that you can do with this. I hope you're getting right. So once the data is been given to you and it's now into the read lines, it becomes an element in a list. I can do whatever the operation. I can append some data, I can insert some data, I can read some data, I can write some data, I can delete some data, I can remove some data, I can pop data, I can able to sort the data, whatever the operation, because I know how to perform the activities on the list. Now the lines become a list of elements. So I can do whatever I want. I can sort data. Every time I can add some data, I can append some data. See, I can append some data as well. For each and every line, instead of this, I can do something like this. I can append, I can take an empty list. I can take an empty list like F1 or I can take an empty list which is F2, which is an empty list. See, you just need to understand all these things. F2 dot append. For every line you append some data. Extra data. Some data you're trying to do. So if I say print I, okay, I becomes an appendable data. So okay, wait.
I think the I should be in the bracket, append bracket.
Yeah. So that will be added to the content. No, F1 will be actually appending. F1 is empty list. Now F1, if I print F1, instead of that, if I print F1, F1 becomes, before I close, if I print F1, F2 is something that is appended, right? So if I print F2, I will get the same output. You got it, right? It is appended. F2 is empty list before, but now it has been appended with the data of F1. So that can be also done. Okay, that can be also done. Okay, I can also do if I dot append every time. I can do I dot append of some information every time. I can do whatever I want, guys. I can do whatever I want. That's up to me. So no one need to say. Okay, there is no item object because I is an iteratable object, right? Okay, I is a no I becomes an iteratable object. I is not
I
a
is
I
not
is
a
yeah,
list,
yeah.
correct?
Yeah, I is not a list. So that's why you will not add it. So this is not the right. You can only add something to the list only. So list is F2 only. So you can only add to the F2. This is the right way. This is the right you can use it as well. You get the output like this. Yeah. Whatever. See, there is no particular situation, but yeah, I'm just saying you can play with this. You can play with the file content once you know how to actually work with the files. You know how to read the file, how to write the file, how to append the file, how to append to the file, how to open in a read mode, write lines, read lines, and then once you know how it is in read lines and gets into a list elements, you can play with it whatever you want. So I just need to just mention you the basic file operations. Whatever you have seen, the basic file operations, we can perform it. So there is one more mode called R place. R place is nothing but both read and write. So you can directly keep R place for everything. Got it, right? You get the same output. Instead of saying R, W, A confusion, you can use R place. R place is something, it will be taking as both read and write mode. Understood, right? So if you don't want to use R separately, write separately, append separately, just keep R place for everything. R place is for both reading and writing. No matter it's reading or writing, it will be acceptable. Okay, you can keep R place. R place is one more mode, both reading and writing mode. I hope you're clear, right, everyone? So whatever we have seen in this concept, we have seen how to open a file, how to read a file, how to write a file, how to use write lines, how to use read lines, how to use read, how to use write, then how to once the file is in append mode, the list element, how to perform an activity on that files. So this basic operations, whatever is there as part of it, we have seen. I'm just asking you, is there any doubts with it?
Yes, yes, Nikhil. See, for this R plus, okay, the first line you mentioned R plus, the next line is F dot write, so you're writing something, and then F dot read, you're reading something. So is this the concept behind R plus?
Yes. R plus is like both reading and writing. Suppose normally what we need to do, we have to give W here because it is the write mode. We have to give W. It is a read mode, we have to give R, which is actually the right way. But when you are using, you can use R place. R place is both reading and writing. So which will accept both reading and writing mode. Understood, right?
So you're
You don't need to,
combining the first line and the fifth line in the same line, right?
yeah. R place is a common mode for both reading and writing. So no matter you are reading or writing, you can give R plus. Otherwise, you can give W or R. Anything is acceptable. No, you don't. Someone speak. Sorry.
Actually, if someone is speaking, please go on mute.
Yeah. Yes. I think I have muted him. Yes. Yeah. Someone. Yeah. You are asking something.
No, I want to append the data. If there is a read and write, the file will be every time the overridden, right? With the data at the end of the file.
R plus is something that, yeah. See, R plus is something that is very similar to write mode only.
No, I want to append the data every time. The write is every time it will be overridden inside the file.
Yeah, every time it will be overridden. You can use A. If you want to append it, you can use A. Here instead of that, you can use A. That's up to you. See which mode you want to use, that's up to you.
No, I want to use at the time read and append at same time.
No, read and append at the same time, it won't work. No, it will, see, it will work only when you're closing the file and then open it.
Okay.
See, file 6, you are appending some data. If I run it now, it will give me 2 times the same data. You got it right? Because the append mode has happened. But if I again use it W, okay, it will be replacing the data. Understood, right? You can see, right, the difference between this and that one, because it is 2 times written here, but there it is only single time. Yeah.
Nikhil, I have one doubt.
Yeah.
Like, see, in the second line, I mentioned write lines. You are using escape characters /aim. So I'm unable to understand what is the difference between write and write lines in this example.
Write lines and write, I'll say you. Write means only writing the whole content at one go. See, if I say write, okay, it will be taking as one go. What I mean to say here is like one go. One go means, see, normally write and write lines, there is no difference. But when you want to perform an activity, see, there are these are the methods which are there in 2.x versions, like 2.1, 2.10, till 3 versions. Now it is 3.9 version which I'm using. When the initial days it was there, write lines is separately there. There is some comma we have to give and we have to proceed with the different element. But write lines means you are mentioning that you are writing in lines. You are writing one by one lines. Okay. So read lines means you are reading the data by one line. So read means you are reading the whole data at one go. Understood, right? That's the only difference. The operation is same. It will do the same writing and then same reading, but read lines and read will be different.
Okay.
I hope you are getting right. See, if you want to write some lines, you have to mention write lines and you have to do it. If you want to read each and every content of data, you can do it. Otherwise, you can still go with read and write. There is no problem with both the things. Okay, there is no problem if you go this way as well. But it will go and read each and everything. You can see, right? It is reading each and every data like that. I can use R.
So while reading, let's say I have hundreds of lines and I want to read initial 10 lines, or is it possible to read?
Yes. You can still do that way actually. You can only read some 10 lines. Okay, you can read some 10 lines. You can read 2 lines. You can read 1 line. Whatever you can say. Read a line. There is something called read a line. Okay, instead of read lines, you want to read only 1 line. Okay, read a line will give you 1 line. Okay, the only 1 line it is read. You can see, right? So there is something called read a line. 1 line it will be reading. I will just remove all this stuff. I don't require it now. It will read the first line. You got it right? Read lines will read the whole lines. Okay, all the lines it is read, but it is reading the first line. So if I want to read the 5th line or 2nd line, so I can mention read line of 2. Are you getting right what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. Oh no, I need to use a seek and tell here. The 2nd line is read. Why it is not read the lines? There are some methods actually. That's read lines means till what? Suppose 2nd line is going with the 15th character, so it will read the 2nd line as well. So suppose 25th character is there, so it will go for the 2nd line. That's why 2nd line is read. Understood, right? 25th character is there in the 2nd line. Understood, right? So it will read the whole line, 2nd line. Suppose 50th character or 45th character, which is there in the 3rd line, you will get the 3rd line also. Understood, right? You have to mention which line you want to read. According to that, you have to mention that line number. See, the whole line will be red. The whole line will be red. So there are some methods that you need to remember actually. If you want particularly reading, you can still do this way. Got it right? How to read a particular line, how to read all the lines, how to read whole data, how to write the data. So write lines and write is different, guys. Write means the whole write you have done, and write lines is like you are writing line by line. Read lines is you are reading one by one line. Read means you are reading the whole data at one go, which is not actually accepted. Yeah, any doubts for today class? Because tomorrow we will start with something called function. See, we'll see modules and package modules, and we will see about the object oriented programming before tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow modules and see some of the basic concepts. Yeah, any doubts for today? What is read lines? What is read? You can go through the class. You will be getting this recording actually. If you want anything on recording, you can please talk with the team, Durga Soft team. If you want the contact of the team, I have already provided. Do you have the contact, everyone? Do you have the contact
Nikhil,
of them?
yeah, Nikhil, who will provide a recording? Because every time I mail to Durga Soft team for provide videos.
You do one thing. You call to this number. This is the number they can contact. Yeah.
Actually, Nikhil, they share the link, but in link there is a lot of video regarding to Java, DevOps.
See, you can do one thing. You can please ask them. See, this is my situation, because even I don't have. See, let me make it very clear. Even I have the same access as what you have. Okay, I also not allowed to do anything. I will only get the read permission, but I will not get any write permissions. Even if I want to even see the data, even I have to go through and I have to approach the same thing. So I don't have any other go. I have to do the same thing as what you are doing. Understood, right? So you just need to do only one thing. You have to talk with them in a very clear way, saying that this is what actually. So I will try to sort it out. I'll try to sort it out. If you see, contact this number, no, 720 721 24228, Durga Softy. You call to this number and just understand them. What is your issue and what you are facing? Because you are supposed to get all the contact data. You are supposed to get all the recordings, whatever is happened till now. Understood, right, everyone? Okay, guys. Contact them and just ask what is your issue, what you are facing, and all stuff. Thank you, guys. Yeah, tomorrow, like, make sure that you get payment so that I'll add you in the group. Who is that person who newly added? Praveen Kumar, right? Praveen, you paid the fees?
Yeah, I paid the fees yesterday.
Can you please send me your contact in the chat?
Contact. Yeah, 99 66 77 2915.
Okay, fine. I'll add it. Thank you.